have a dream, oh, I have a dream. Red, white, and blue, fly free, fly free. I believe, oh, I believe. Will you dream with me?
Hello, everybody. My name is Louie Michael, and I am sitting in today for the famous Lynn Morris, who is unavailable today. This guy is one of those guys that he's a county commissioner now. He was a state representative. He was a pharmacist extraordinaire for years, had lots of family pharmacies. I don't know, 30 or 40 of them, maybe 50. I don't know. But he's one of those guys that's on the go all the time, and he's always serving his community. And I believe that's what he's out doing this morning. So he called and asked if I would sit in with Miss Dawn Blackard here. So here I am on Changing Times. Hi, Dawn. How are you?
Hi, Louie. So glad you could fill in today.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Anytime he calls, I just say yes.
Me too.
It doesn't matter. He's just one of those guys you just always want to do what you can for because he's always doing for you. But we've got a great show today. We've got Karla Hale with us today, who is actually a very, very long – I mean, I don't have that many friends. I can count probably on one hand. Nobody likes me. But friends that I've had since childhood that I actually remember my first memories of playing with or being at the ballpark with. Our fathers played softball together, fast pitch softball back in the day, and Fast Night Park and places in Springfield. Those were our homes in the summer, and the only really family gatherings we had was those at the ballpark. And our dads may have played against each other, but it was I don't know. There's a handful of us kids that we still see each other. Brandon Hallworth and different ones that I run into, and your sister Christy, she's a twin. But I remember those little redheaded girls running around the ballpark, and we'd play, and sometimes they got to go to the park, and I couldn't go to the park because my parents wouldn't let me out of their sight. But I was always jealous. But we played lots of cup ball and ate lots of popcorn and had a good time. So I'm so happy to see you again. It's been a while since I've seen your face, and glad you're here because you're going to talk about a very important subject for us. And we're going to share your book that you've written and different things. So thank you for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Louie. I appreciate both you and Dawn for having me. Thank you so much.
Welcome, welcome.
Oh, it's great to be here.
Yeah, good morning. Glad you made it.
Oh,
I'm just happy I woke up.
Me too.
And we all have our coffee. We're ready to go.
No coffee here. I need some, though, because I'm tired from breathing all night.
Oh.
It wore me out. No, I'm okay. Thank you. They're asking me if I need coffee or water. I just don't do either of them. Well, I do water, but no, I'm okay right now. So, Karla, tell us about yourself. Tell us where you're from. Tell us how much you like Louie Michael and how much your memory goes back to ballpark days like, Chico sticks and all that good stuff. But seriously, tell us about yourself.
Oh, absolutely. Again, thank you both for having me. Yes, I'm just a small town, Southwest Missouri girl. I grew up in the small town of Clever, Missouri. And like Louie shared, I met Louie years and years ago. My dad played fast pitch softball, and truly that was a playground for me. My sister. I have an older sister, Debbie, and a twin sister, Christy. My mom is Darlene, dad Larry, and many summers at the ballpark. And
her dad was the fastest guy on the field. That's what I remember. He's 81 now. I'm sure he could probably still run to second base in the same speed, but he was the fastest guy around.
I don't know if he thinks he could run that fast, but I believe him too. He's still my hero. And so many years of eating dirt and loving dirt. And I enjoyed my life in Clever growing up, and always aspired to teach. And so when I graduated from high school, I went straight to Southwest Missouri State University. I still call it SMS.
That's what it'll always be.
I'm an SMS graduate.
Are you an SMS as well? Yes. And then it became MSU while I was still going to college. And
me too.
Yes, absolutely. We share that.
Boy, I feel left out.
Go Bears.
I did good to get out of high school.
It's okay, Louie. We still love you.
Okay, good.
I forgot to start off with how much I love Louie.
Yes, me too.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and so anyway, I enjoyed a career. I began at Republic, so I have to do a shout out to Republic Tigers, and was beginning my 8th year there, and received a call to start out as a young principal in Reed Spring, Missouri, and enjoyed time there, and left there to call Crane my home. And I want to give a good shout out to Crane because that's such a wonderful community. Got to spend 8 wonderful years there.
And what did you do in Crane?
Middle school principal.
Okay.
Yes. And then got out to do a little computer training with schools, and then reconnected with some friends at Reed Spring and was able to go back and finish my career there at the elementary level. And so I guess all in all, I taught for around 8 years, and then was a principal for about 15.
Right.
And then the best parts of my life were having my sons. I have 2 sons, Jared and Jay, and I am blessed to have 2 daughter-in-laws and 3 little grandkids now.
Fantastic.
Yes.
And in the
my
midst of all
pride and
that,
joy.
were you traveling at all at that time? I know you love to travel.
Oh, I do enjoy traveling. Love has taken me to many, many places and back home. And I'm a fan of national parks. I'm a fan of rivers, streams, mountains, and history. I love history. And I attribute that love of history to my dad. He taught history as well before going into administration. And
he was in Clever at the school there, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. And I can remember times traveling with mom and dad when we were young, my sisters and I, and I loved stopping at all the historical places, which will be a good segue into why I wrote my book later on. And so that just gives a little bit of a snippet of my life revolving around kids.
A lot of education.
Yes, I miss education, and you'll hear teachers say this, that they're lifelong learners, and I really am a lifelong learner. I'm very curious. I love to learn new things, see new places, and I think I'll always have that.
I know your personality and your spirit, and I can only imagine what it was like for those kids being in your classroom.
Oh.
There's certain teachers that I remember that I just make me tear up, but made me feel loved. And you've got that personality no matter who you come in contact with, but I can only imagine the influence you made on those children.
Oh, thank you, Louie. That is so kind to say. I truly do believe that kids really, that old saying, they don't really care how much you know, but how much you love them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think back to some of the best educators that I've had opportunity to work with, and it truly was a matter of the heart. I really feel like when kids feel loved and protected and safe, you can teach them. They feel secure, and they need to know you're genuine, and they need to know you're authentic.
You have to capture their heart.
Oh, Dawn,
Yeah.
that's it.
That's what you have to do. And I want to take just like a few seconds here and do my usual plug. We love where we live.
We do.
We love where we live. And if you're interested in learning anything about these cute little communities where we're focused on family and values and all of that, call Louie.
That's right. We'll move you here and sell you a house.
Absolutely.
But it is a great area.
Yes, no, it is. I wish people knew what we knew.
Yeah. Well, there's a ton of people right now coming from the West Coast and East Coast that are moving
because
to
she's
the
the
middle.
prime example of someone who cares.
Absolutely.
And when you have a teacher or administration that cares, then the kids can actually learn, and it's just a totally different environment. So,
and most all of my both of my daughter's teachers and stuff, I had enormous respect for. They were all loving, kind people, and they wanted to do their job, and they don't get paid near enough to deal with what they deal with every day. And everybody's like, well, they get summers off. And did you take summers off? There was always work to be done, right? Getting ready for the next season.
I did. I had a few weeks off that I could enjoy. And that's another wonderful thing about the career of education, especially if you're a mother.
Yeah.
Because you do have the time off when the kids are off, you're off of work. But perhaps mine was a little shorter than when I was just in the classroom.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate all the teachers out there, and thank you for doing what you do.
I love them all, and I sure miss it. And I want to give a shout out to Chances of Stone County. If any of my friends at Chances are watching.
Tell us about Chances.
Yes, absolutely. Chances was formed in Stone County several years ago, and it really took some women and mamas of our marginalized and special population of of kiddos that really need that extra attention, whether they were on the spectrum of autism or had cerebral palsy or had just a learning disability. There's a population that we want to make sure gets recognized and gets the extra help that they need. And
Sure.
Chances was formed, and we run it. I want to just give a shout out to all of my friends there for what they do for our special education population in Stone County. I walked in there a couple of years ago, and through the Stone County Disability Board, Chances was able to have some funding to help get them started and to do the activities they do. They have a program called Club Daybreak. And so that program, which is held 3 days a week, really lets the adults come in, work on social skills, get to be together.
Wow.
And they have a wood workshop that the adults get to build bird houses. And it's just a neat place for our special population to be able to go. And so I want to
Is that a nonprofit, or how's it funded?
Yes, absolutely. Well, they're funded partly through
grants,
pardon me, yes, through lots of grants and lots of, oh my gosh, the amazing sponsors in Branson. You would not believe the sponsorship. The Price Cutter charity tournament has been a big fundraiser for Chances. And of course, the grant through the Stone County Disability Board. But it's really the clients that we serve, but it's the people there that are working and giving of their time each week. And that was really where my heart lied, because I had missed education so much, that when I found this organization, I really thought, wow, things are on a roll for me. I'm going to get back into working with our special population.
And did you do that for a while?
I was able to volunteer and work with them and just be a face and a person to love on the clients.
Yeah, they need that. We all need that.
I had a career in work camping at a campground in Branson West that was so fun and challenging as well, and met so many neat people. And so all of these life circumstances have led me to this foundation of faith, and this diagnosis from last May has really shifted things for me.
Now, as we get into that, I was going to say two Chances. That was great organization, but it was also something that they gave me a lot of in school. Okay, we're going to give you another chance.
Me too.
I just have to put that out there. Some of my teachers may be watching going, yep, he's right. We sure did. Third chance, fourth chance, fifth chance. No, but with all seriousness, though, we're going to talk a little bit about what you've been faced with over the last year, and tell us about first of all, what it is and how you found out about it.
Oh, absolutely. And I'd like to back up 1 second here and give a shout out to CC Links of Christian County.
Yes.
Because when I speak of the great organizations, Christian County has an amazing organization as well with CC Links, and what they do for those. There. Absolutely. And my niece Becca is able to work there, and they just offer so many great things for our population of Christian County. So I want to just say kudos to all of these organizations. But sorry about that, Louie.
That's all right.
Yeah.
No, we want to talk about all that stuff. Whatever's on your mind. You're the guest today.
I'm just over here always talking about how great Christian County is. So I'm like, keep talking.
Yeah, this is kind of a Christian County show.
Yeah.
Of course, with Lynn Morris and his connections and Don. And so I'm just over there in Webster County. So all by myself. But yeah, carry on. Tell us more about this and how. What's the name of it? Is it NET?
It's NET, N-E-T, and for short, it stands for neuroendocrine tumor. You'll hear a lot of people call it carcinoid syndrome. Several years ago, they didn't have the name NET. It was called carcinoid syndrome. And in short, mine would be PNET, because the primary cancer is in the pancreas, and that's where it began.
And is that the same for everyone?
It is not the same for everyone. NET is a rare disease, and coincidentally, yesterday was Rare Disease Day.
Really?
And I would like to give another shout out to my dear friend Nikki Berg, who was a one-time director of Chances, and her 2 children have a rare mitochondrial disorder. And, there's so many rare diseases out there.
Yeah.
And so I do want to make sure that when I'm talking about neck cancer, that I'm also, giving a little bit of awareness to lots of rare diseases that are out there. People are battling that just the common person, we wouldn't know.
And it takes forever to find out what you have, to get on the right road when you have a rare disease, because they don't look for them the same.
Right.
So it's just more, you have to be a more advocate, and
Well, she
you
was
have to be
saying
persistent with your.
with her discovery
Absolutely,
and stuff,
Dawn.
had she had a simple thing like a CT scan a few years ago, they may have discovered it.
Yes. So when you're speaking of neuroendocrine cancer specifically, we all have neuroendocrine glands, and you think of the nervous system and your endocrine system.
Mhm.
And so we have all kinds of hormones that are used to help balance those systems. And in this case, for some, it might start in your GI tract. I've met several great people on a website called Inspire. And on that website, you basically plug in the disease or condition you might be living with, and you're hoping to connect to others. And I've connected with others with this rare disease. And for some of them, it started in their pancreas. For some, it was in the lung. For some, it may have been in some stomach lymph nodes. For others, it started in the pancreas, like me. I think what everyone should know is, like Dawn shared, be an advocate for yourself. I just had some genetic testing done. I don't have the results back yet. But if this genetic test does show that there's a certain mutation that I have, which is it's a multiple, it's called multiple endocrine neoplasia 1, and it's MEN1, MEN1. If for some reason I show positive for this, then my family would have 90 days to be tested for free to see if they have this same mutation. You are at risk for this cancer if you have that and 4 other different mutations. But basically, neuroendocrine cancer is when those neuroendocrine cells start to mutate and they form into cancer cells. But unlike regular cancer cells, these cells are well differentiated, which means they look like normal cells.
Mm.
So for years, I believe mine was masked by other symptoms. And, Louie, before we started to air today, we talked a little bit about COVID and, just how COVID has impacted immunes and just our lives in general.
Right.
And I almost have to give a little nod to COVID, because it was after a really bad bout of COVID, I didn't seem to come out of that very well and would have abdominal pain and had suffered from that for several years. But I remember when we were shut down in 2020, and the pains were a little more severe and a little more frequent. But I thought, well, there's no reason to get into the doctor's office right now. I already have.
You attributed that to something else?
Absolutely. So I was involved in a wreck when I was 36. I had, trying to be active and an athlete my entire life. You're going to have injury, whether, you're playing softball or you have a car wreck and you might have hurt your neck or something else. You have those normal things that you battle, and you don't think of it being something else.
Right.
You just think that's part of what it is you're battling. And I was diagnosed when I was 26 with irritable bowel syndrome. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, IBS, they call it.
IBS. And so I would have never thought twice about having gut issues, because I had lived with that for so long. That just seemed to be something that was common. They didn't really test for it other than just ask you about your symptoms. When I was in my mid-40s, I was also diagnosed with menopause. And so I'm speaking directly to the women here in this group. A lot of the symptoms of this cancer could be hot flashes. They call it flushing. And so it could be also masked by menopause. I met a gal named Ingrid, and Ingrid is living in Kansas City, Kansas. She was diagnosed at age 51,
Mhm.
and I was diagnosed at almost 52. And they caught hers early. I said, Ingrid, how did they catch yours? And she said she was having abdominal cramping and some things that just wouldn't go away. And so she said, I think we need to do a scan. And they found a tumor that was small enough they could remove it.
It hadn't spread or
It
anything.
had not spread. And so my message would be to, one, know your symptoms, and two, push for a diagnosis. I have to give a shout out to my doctors as well, and kudos. I have this amazing doctor, Dr. Ballard, down in Branson West with Cox. And she has been a sole caregiver for me for the last 5 years. And I now have an oncologist, Dr. Lobens, at the Holston Cancer Center, Dr. Charles Woodall, and I'll talk here in a little bit about some new radiation that was approved by FDA 5 years ago that I'm fortunate to receive. But back to your original question, Louie, I would not have known I had this cancer had it not been for a CT scan.
You would have just continued to feel bad and chalk it up to one of the other things that you thought it was or had been diagnosed with.
Exactly. And I think we know our bodies best.
Sure.
Don't you agree?
We do, but I would say that one common mistake people make is the assumption. I assume that I'm not going to go to the doctor because it's just my kidneys or it's just but how do you know?
Right.
So I like to go with until you've ruled it out. You can't rule it in,
right.
On all of that. But people will, miss an opportunity to advocate for themselves because they dismiss it. And it's like, we're not medical professionals in the doctor sense, but too many people just, don't give enough credence to what's actually happening. And we're very big overcoming type of people. We just press on, especially, as moms, you just kind of like push it off until something like COVID would happen and just put you on your back. And then it's like, how do you come back? You don't come back the same when you've got something underlying going on.
People too, they need to stand up to their doctors, and most doctors are great. Don't get me wrong.
Well, don't just take one answer. If it's not what you think, then keep on.
Yeah, and if you want a test, you have the right to get that test, or you may be out of pocket or something. I don't know, but you have the right to get things checked out if you don't know what it is, or if you feel like they're blowing you off, or.
Well, and anymore, there's such a wait to get testing that it's so good to have a good doctor relationship that you've already established. Yeah. And, if you have to, just use the emergency room and just know you're going to wait a couple days. But
right. Been there, done that a few weeks ago.
I know you did.
Well, those are great perspectives. I appreciate that. And I'm nodding my head in agreement. I do believe, particularly, no offense to Louie, but I do, women particularly as moms do try to push through. And years ago, I knew that I had some rare things. I did find out a few years ago through some testing that I'm anemic and had some blood issues. And I was telling Louie the other day, I truly found it was really in the blood. And I'll talk about my relationship with Christ. But I just didn't really want to share a lot because I felt silly. I don't know if that would be the right word, like to say there was something else wrong with me. Like you don't want
That's
to.
normal.
You don't want to tell people, oh well, I feel this way. You just fight through it because, like, what else could go wrong? You have this or you have that, and you don't want to appear to be a hypochondriac. You don't want to appear like, well, it's in her head, or, something could be really wrong. And so you push through it going, okay, this is what God has handed me. And this uncomfortableness and this pain he has given me is for a purpose. And I kind of penned it as not falling on my face, but I fell flat on my faith. I just fell flat on my faith, wondering what is wrong with me. And
there's nowhere else to go at that point.
There really isn't.
And God used something that was meant for bad and turned it into good.
Mm-hmm.
That came out of that for you. and getting on the right road. And I do feel like God
Yes.
really does interject in our path and helps us line up with the right people or the right test or the right thing that puts you on that right track to figure out what's going on with you.
I've often thought about God's timing.
Yeah.
And people might say, whoa, this is, it's metastasized. It's late. I tear up.
It's always right on time.
It's right on time. Always.
And it's not
God's
that you were never a
timing.
believer. You've
No.
always been a believer. You've
No.
always had faith. You've always had, but God puts us through these valleys sometimes, and you wake up, at 50 years old, and you go, why am I just now seeing this so clearly? It's because you had to go through all the stuff before to get to this point. He wasn't ready for you to know what you know today until today.
Well, absolutely. And some may say, well, why be happy? Why have so much joy when you've been given this diagnosis that may limit and possibly will limit my life? And I think I have an answer. There's a relief. You go years wondering what is wrong. And a dear friend, Judy, that works with Chances, she clearly remembers me saying to her 2 years ago, I said, Judy, there's something wrong with me. I don't know what it is, but I hope to get to the bottom of it. I can't tell you, I can't pinpoint it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think once the rubber hit the road and it got to a point where I had to go to, like Dawn said, to the emergency room. It took an emergency room visit for them to find this. And it was scary for my family and friends.
Sure.
Because when I arrived at the Cox Hospital in Branson, they thought at first it was regular pancreatic cancer. That meant I may
Was
only
that the
had-
first place they spotted it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
This amazing ER doctor came into my family and I and said, you have a mass on your pancreas. And I didn't believe her. I was in shock. I thought she
Sure.
was talking about someone else. And this doctor prayed with us. And
Wow.
they had me at Cox in Springfield within the next 5 hours. And seriously, they thought I had the regular pancreatic cancer and I was going to be gone in less than a year. So we were relieved to find out after a 5-day stay that it is this rare cancer. Only about 1 in 120,000 of us are diagnosed. There's between 2 and 300,000 of us living with this disease today. For many, if it's caught early, they can remove the tumors. You can adjust your lifestyle. Seriously, they do not know why people get this cancer. It's that rare. There's still that big question as to why.
Yeah.
And the mutations is the only thing that they could link it to in the way your cells mutate. But you can live a longer life. For some that I've met and heard about in these amazing organizations I follow on the internet, they've lived 12, 15 years. Typically, when it's metastasized, in my case, it started in my pancreas, then metastasized to my liver, and then a couple of lymph nodes. And probably the most painful, realistically, is the bones. I have a
Now that
small
it's in your
one.
bones.
I have a small one in my skull, in my neck, my back, my hip and pelvis, and my ribs. And so I was used to living with joint pain, just due to arthritis and things like that. And so I just assumed pain was normal.
Right. Yeah. And
So-
sometimes, you just live through that stuff. And we're going to get to more of that and where you're at in your journey coming up in just a second. We're going to take a quick break and just tell you about our sponsors real quick.
So thankful for our sponsors.
Yes. You got a couple great ones in here. I got to tell you.
One's in the room.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We'll talk about him later. He's not that important. Brad Pistole is one of the sponsors for the show. He's got Trinity Insurance and Financial Services. The guy's written all kinds of great financial books and is very smart. And as Lynn puts it, he's put all of his money with him and he's never lost a nickel. So we know how much money
And
Lynn's
my family has money with him too. Didn't even know it. I was like, you got to hear about this guy. And they're like, we already have our money with him, Dawn.
got. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, be sure to call Brad Pistol if you get a chance. You can probably find him on any of the social networks, the internets. But his phone number is 417-581-9222. So give him a call at 417-581-9222. And the other sponsor we've got is Youngblood Motor Company and Motor Group. They are over at Walnut Lawn and Campbell. They are right there on the corner. Matter of fact, their used car lot, they've got 20,000 dozen beautiful cars in there. They're all certified cars. They maybe not that many. It'd be a little bigger parking lot. But they've got a lot of beautiful cars. I love looking at cars, and since I was old enough to drive, I've been driving through every parking lot in Springfield dreaming. So that's what gets me inspired. Look at that Corvette. Hey. Still don't have a new Corvette. But anyway, be sure to check out Youngblood Motor Company, Motor Group. If you want to call them, they are at 417-882-3838. And Lynn says you can even shop online. They've got all those cars over there that you can buy online. And I think they guarantee if you don't like it, they'll bring another one out and swap it.
Yep.
So sounds like quite a deal. But Youngblood Motor Group. And then we've got Louie Michael Real Estate or Louie Michael Properties. What am I going? Oh, it's The Firm Real Estate in Ozark, Missouri. I'm an agent for The Firm in Ozark, the great Parnham family. I work with my broker, Sonia Wells. She owns the company there. She's beautiful. She's wonderful. She's given me a job for 5 years and allowed me to make lots of money and sell lots of houses. So I'm very grateful to her. And I say a lot of money. It's been enough to eat. So I'm not missing any meals. So that makes me happy. But if you need something sold or you want to find out information on your home as far as what it's worth or what it could be sold for, what's on the market, just give me a call at 417-988-1086, or you can email me at louie@louiemichael.com. I'll be happy to help you any way I can. And the most important sponsor, which I believe is a really cool deal. I started something called Choosing to Live a few years back, and it's a nonprofit that works with people that are suicidal, depression, anxiety, PTSD, suicidal thoughts and tendencies. We just want to encourage people. We want to be a cheerleader for you. If you're suffering from any sort of issue like that, please give us a call. You can go to neversuicide.org. We've got lots of great information there, and I'm getting ready to hold another grief counseling session. I am not a licensed counselor or therapist or anything. I'm just a student of depression and life, and I've been there. I suffer from depression, anxiety. I've been diagnosed with PTSD after a couple of bad accidents. I'm doing better, but there's always ways to get through these things and get past these things. There was a time I tried to take my life years ago and have wanted to since. Not to say that feeling ever goes away when you're somebody that suffers from depression. Thankfully, I've got God on my side and a lot of prayer warriors around me. But my goal is, God gave me a purpose. I just want to help you get to the next day. I just want to cheerlead you and let you know that, whatever you're facing is not so bad that you can't get through it. It may seem like it. Trust me, I've been there, but God will see you through it. Yeah. And I'm here to help. And there's a lot of people here. Your friends, don't be that person that thinks you have nobody to talk to. Somebody is always out there you can talk to, and they do want to hear your problems. They want to help you get through it. They just can't deal with you taking your life. So with that, we want to say Adamant Faith, they've got their song out now, Riverbed.
Yes. We are big fans of theirs.
Yes.
They are producing a song every single week.
They're amazing.
What kind of talent can produce over 300 songs in their early 20s with just impeccable, God-given star qualities?
They're amazing.
We're big fans. But
have you heard them?
I have not, but I'm curious.
So
I
want to
send you
hear
some
them.
stuff.
So Adamant Faith is the name,
Okay.
and their current song is The Riverbed.
Yes.
Yeah. So go
Faith
check
wrote
that out.
about her husband, her new husband.
Yeah.
It's kind of a love song.
Just
and
adorable.
This girl has got a beautiful voice. And I just set him up with 98 Degrees' producer, Brandon Mashburn.
Fantastic.
And they were going to record a couple songs together. And we're going to try to get it into the right hands and see if we can get them pushed a little further along.
And then maybe they'll remember us when they're huge stars and think, oh, Louie and Dawn.
I'm going to go drive their bus.
I'm with you, Louie. I already told you I would quit my job and go on tour.
Exactly. It'll be a blast. But thank you to all those sponsors.
Yes.
And we're really glad to have you. I know Lynn's very appreciative. Dawn's appreciative. And I'm glad to be a part of it because I believe in the show. And you guys are out on YouTube, Tumblr, all kinds of different outlets now. So it's being watched. Anybody in the world can watch it. So it's great. But the most important thing today is Karla and her journey. So we left off a minute ago about getting diagnosed and all that good stuff and where it's at in your body. What's the next steps? What's coming up for you?
Well, currently I am in between treatments. A treatment was approved by our FDA in 2018, and it's called Lutaterra. It's part of a process that they have named peptide radionuclide radioactive therapy.
Oh my
That's a
gosh.
lot of words.
That's a lot of
But
words.
in short, what this is this is an internal radiation. And this radiation, the medicine, the Lutetium-77, was created to just target neuroendocrine cancer cells. So it binds to the receptors on those cells, gets inside the cells, and destroys them from the inside out.
Wow.
The valuable tool about this special radiation is that it doesn't radiate your whole entire body. So when you hear people say they're receiving radiation for their cancer, you're thinking, okay, it's going everywhere. This particular radiation is targeting only those cells that are cancerous, the neuroendocrine.
So is it something they put into your bloodstream?
It is. So the FDA has approved 4 of those. Currently, I have completed 2. The first one I did pretty well with. There were some symptoms. The second one was a lot tougher. I had that one November the 29th. Unfortunately, due to some blood issues that I currently have and already have, your red blood cells and your hemoglobin and platelets and things like that are going to take a hit with radiation. I mean, you are giving you are radiating yourself. So you are going to have some side effects.
And you said you've already been through treatment. Did you say 42?
Okay,
rounds?
well, the first thing they did was fairly aggressive. So when they first diagnosed my cancer, there was a chemo regimen called capecitabine, and they mixed that with another chemo drug, and that was timolide, and those are both very strong chemo drugs, and so they call it the Captum regimen, and that's oral.
Mhm.
And so I did 44 rounds of that.
Wow.
And I did 3 months of that, and it had little to no impact on this cancer. And part of that is because it has metastasized to so many places. I have a lot of questions people will ask. I'm used to hearing, well, I hear you have the good cancer. I'm used to hearing you look great. You've kept your hair, all of these things that would be common if this were, say, a different cancer. I'm just going to say I've been fortunate that one, I've been able to have hair through this journey. Whether I had it or not didn't matter to me at that point. I didn't really care. As far as how you look and feel, you may always feel different than how you look. And this is one of those cancers.
That goes for mental issues too.
Right, exactly, Louie. And this is one of those cancers that you may not look frail till those symptoms overtake you. You may appear like you're fine. In reality, we're all human. We don't want to be out when we're not our best.
Right.
We want to be at our best when we're seeing other people. In all fairness, I don't always look like this because I don't always feel well.
You don't leave the house sometimes.
And there are days that I don't. And, I want to talk about choosing to live and how much you mean to me and how much I love you. And for what you've started. I went through a bout of depression, years not understanding. I'm so thankful for my sons and my daughter-in-laws and my grandkids and my family. But there was a time I felt so lost. My sons had joined the Air Force. I was having health issues I didn't understand. And I just felt like the rug had been ripped out from underneath
Sure.
me. And you go through that depression and you get to the bottom and you look up and there's God. Jesus is the one that's going to pull you out of that. And you can't explain that to people. You can't explain that experience unless you've been through it, but you can share that that's where your hope comes from. That's where your faith comes from. It's from a little building I sat in years ago. And it wasn't about the building or the people or my thoughts of religion or anything like that. It was a relationship and this choice I made in this little building in Clever years and years and years ago between Jesus and I.
For me, the Holy Spirit
Yes.
just can overcome you in a second. And people that have never felt that, they don't know what they're missing. And then I've also been on the other end of people that have experienced it after the fact, and they look at me and they go, "I have never felt that before." And it's so amazing to see that, because they get it. They're in that. I can sit there in the church and just cry.
Yeah.
And just, it's not because I'm sad or weeping. It's the Holy Spirit moving through me and convicting me of all my wrongdoing the day before, or what I said about somebody or whatever. But God is so good. Tell us about how they could follow you. I know you have a website and you have a book that you've
yes.
published.
Yes, show the book.
Oh,
Hold
well,
it up and
Yeah, you got to show it off.
I know
Beautiful.
I'm kind of going back and forth here on this journey, but when I started, when I had left the campground to decide I wanted to write full time, I was thinking about my time in the RV and this spirit I have. I was actually going to buy a Class C RV, and I'd shared it with my sons and my family, and I know they're all thinking, this gal's
She's
crazy.
what?
Like, why would she want to be in this alone and travel and write? And I think it goes back to that love of history I had. So
Does it always also make you feel closer to God?
Yes. In nature, that's where I feel the closest to the Lord. I feel the
Church can be
presence of the
anywhere.
Holy Spirit. And it just happens to be that the woods is my favorite church.
You and a lot of other people. I mean, seriously.
Yeah,
It's
and
refreshing.
I just love that. But yes, my book is called Faith in Findlay, Tura, Missouri, and I'm self-published. I'm not any famous author. I'm just a gal who had a dream of self-publishing a book, and this was going to be the first of many. That was my goal. And Faith, which is really the fictional character based off of me, comes from my faith, obviously. And Finley is my little three-legged poodle, mixed Maltese rescue,
Yeah.
who is my little baby.
He's the real deal. You got him at home, right? Or
Yep, she's named after the Finley River. And so I took my love of Missouri and decided to write this book. And as you can see, it has some beautiful illustrations. I want to give a plug to my illustrator, Gage
Yeah, show
Becker.
them.
Yes. Gage. So when I was looking for an illustrator, I heard about Gage Becker, and I knew the name sounded familiar. And Gage and I met at Panera in Branson, and I walked in, and there sat this lovely young man with this great smile, and he said to me, "Oh, there you go, Louie." He said to me, he said, "You." He said, "You were my principal." And he said, "I remember you riding."
Oh, I love that.
He goes, "I remember you riding a donkey into the school, a mule." And I was like, that's a great thing to remember. We were having a book fair, Louie, and it was called the Reading Roundup. And the music teacher, Sue Gillen, and I, we borrowed some mules from our good friend Kirby, and rode these mules into the school. And isn't it funny what kids remember? And Gage had told an art teacher that one day he was going to be an artist. And I got to see Gage on the Fox Morning Show the other morning with Jeremy Rabe, and I thought, well, there's my Gage.
That's great.
He is so amazing. He designs candles. He is a cave guide, and he is just an amazing illustrator. And you can follow him on his website, Gage Becker. But anyway, yes, back to my book. This is on my website. I began writing.
What's the website?
Yep.
It's called Flannel with Faith.
Flannelwithfaith.com.
If you Google Flannel with Faith, I come up now.
So go to Flannel with Faith, and you can follow her journey. She'll be telling about her journey, her cancer, and she's always got some great Bible verses or spiritual uplifting things to share with you. So be sure to follow that. How much time have we got left?
1 minute.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really just my journey of writing is what Flannel with Faith is. It's just a journey of my writing. And after I was diagnosed with the cancer, that gave me purpose. So what I do
That's a great
is
book.
I'll tell a story, and then I and then I share about my journey.
Well, you are an inspirational person and God is using you. And if Lynn was here, he would say you're a difference maker because you are. And so
Yes.
thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your heart, and makes me want to go like do more.
Absolutely. She's inspiring and she's lovely and she's one of the sweetest people I know and I adore. I've known her a long time. So, and every word I said is true. So get yourself on that website and get one of those books if you can. I bought several at Christmas time and gave them out to little kids.
Thank
They
you,
love
Louie.
them. So
Yeah.
be sure to support her if you can. And thank you for being here. And thank you, Lynn Morris, for asking me to sit in today. Dawn, thanks for having me.
Miss the values, the old time family. They dream this land stays free under God, not tyranny. That's what it means to really dream. 1, 2, 3. Can I get a hoorah from a patriot like me? Can I get an amen? Do I hear a hallelujah?